Before you this evening is the bid award for the Hatley Way Sidewalk project. You'll recall this is a project that we've been working on for some time, and its origins actually go back to some of the redevelopment of the Walmart property a few years ago, and a generous donation from Walmart for some sidewalk improvements in an area that's actually not fronting their property, but leads to their property and their redevelopment of that facility. So with that, we undertook some efforts to define and design some improvements along a route that would tie the existing sidewalk system in front of the Palouse Mall to the sidewalks that were being reconstructed as part of the Walmart development. To help orient you just a bit, the photograph on the screen shows a portion of the parking lot which is at the very southwest corner of the Palouse Mall. And then here on the left-hand side is the parking lot for the U-Haul facility. Walmart is off the screen up to the upper left. State Highway 8 here, and a portion of Hatley Way. This is actually something that we refer to as the Montgomery driveway. Not everybody knows it that way, but it served the residents to the north for many, many years. So the area that we're talking about as far as improvements really are in this general vicinity. And in front of the mall, there's a existing sidewalk, concrete sidewalk that runs all the way along the front of the mall from this point east to Farm Road. And it is a sidewalk that is actually on mall property. It's property that belongs to the University of Idaho, leased by the mall. And it is, in essence, a private sidewalk, but it does serve as similar to a public facility along this corridor. It's the only sidewalk on the north side of State Highway 8 in this area. The Hatley Way project is really meant to improve access from that concrete sidewalk into the sidewalk that exists in front of the U-Haul facility, and there are several components of the design. The project has been put out to bid, and we did receive bids on the work. The project was broken into really three pieces in the contract documents. The base bid would construct the segment that you see here on the screen, which is essentially a new pathway system, sidewalk type path, that would start with a connection to the existing mall sidewalk and work its way down this slope and around the corner, terminating right here with a ramp connection to the existing concrete street section and ultimately the concrete sidewalk to the west. So that project is that component is the base bid that you'll see in the bid tabulation that's in your packet tonight. The concern that we had in designing this project is if we stopped with just that component, it really does leave some issues along the corridor here to the west. This section of concrete street and partially asphalt street is fairly rough, not in terribly great condition, so in terms of an accessible pedestrian route, it's not terribly desirable to leave it in that condition. Also, the existing ramps, such as they are to the west here, and that the driveway, the first driveway going into U-Haul, are not in particularly good condition. And so the concern was that if we stopped with just the base bid component, while we've made a connection, it's not a particularly good connection as you continue west from this new ramp section. So in the design, we worked on two additional pieces that are in the bid package as alternates number 1 and number 2. The first alternate is actually the addition of stairs from the end of the existing concrete sidewalk that's in front of the mall down to which would be the lower end of the ramp that we just talked about, the base bid portion. So it would just be that set of stairs being constructed as at alternate number 1. The second alternate, which would be an addition, would be to, instead of terminating the ramp section and ending the project right here, as shown in the previous slide, we would actually continue the work with new sidewalk across This area replacing what's a poor ramp today, somewhat substandard sidewalk in this area down to this first U-Haul driveway. New ramp in front of the U-Haul driveway there and there to bring those ramps up to a compliant status or compliant condition under today's ADA regulations. So that portion, essentially picking up the base of the stairs and coming around to this point, would be additive alternate number 2. The design team on this actually included Ron Crumley, who's here this evening, our principal engineering technician, and Ron will be able to assist in questions that we may have if you have any pertaining to the design details. The contract or the project was put out to bid. We solicited bids from 7 contractors in the area who do this type of work. We received several bids as shown in the bid tabulation that's in your package. Actually 3 responsible bidders. Of those, Curtis Concrete Construction was the low bid, and the total package cost, including both alternates, would be at $49,606. If you'll recall, the donation that we received from the Walmart Corporation was $18,694. So that would essentially cover the base bid amount that in the bids that were received from Curtis Construction. The remaining work, if the council chooses to proceed with those ad alternates, would be covered through a combination of sidewalk program funds and developer participation funds from the street fund. And we felt those funds were appropriate as it relates to some of the project being sidewalk related work, certainly for the sidewalk component, sidewalk funding. And then something I really didn't talk about, but is included as some replacement of some existing concrete in this area to resolve some poor concrete issues, drainage issues, and just really generally clean that up. So that would fall under that developer participation component. And so that's the way they're broken out in the recommendation that's in your packet. Staff recommendation is to proceed with the bid award for the project base bid and both ad alternates for that total amount of $49,606 with a recommendation for a 10% authorization for administrative change orders if needed on the project, with the funding coming from the sources as outlined in your package this evening. With that, I'd be open to any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Les. Council members, questions for Les? Sue?
I was looking at the grade on the, where it says 5% grade on the original, with the recent problem with the grading out in front of the library.
Yes.
What is the difference, was the grade at the library that had to be torn up and relative to the 5%?
I believe it was in excess of 20%.
Okay, right.
ADA standards allow you to go up to actually I think it's 8.1%. So this is well within the ADA standards for this type of facility and for the length of
Okay,
ramps.
because the other question I had is, as you further go on Hatley Way and you turn in that little side road that goes up to Walmart, there, that gets pretty steep in there too. So I was wondering what the grade on that was.
You know, I don't know the grade of that offhand. I don't know if Ron does. It's apparently not either. One of the things about the American with Disabilities Act, ADA standards, is that sidewalks that mimic a street grade are considered acceptable under the regulations. So if the street is running along at a 15% grade and the sidewalk matches it at 15%, that is acceptable under the ADA standards.
But not acceptable in Moscow. We don't like more than 10.
We do have sidewalks that are
we don't
in that range.
like them.
It's not what we prefer, but obviously with topography, sometimes you don't really have a
Okay,
choice.
and my other question was, if we put this whole entire long ramp in, why do we need the stairs? Because it seems like the stairs were the first, quickie thing to do, but of course, that's not ADA.
Not ADA.
So why bother with the stairs?
And that's certainly a good question. The council may choose not to pursue the stairs. One of the concerns we've heard from folks, and we've had ourselves in the design, is will people who don't need a ramp actually choose to go slightly out of their way to follow this ramp rather than just going to the end of the sidewalk and walking down the dirt slope as they do today? And we just as soon discourage the use of that dirt slope that's out there today, which is really why the stairs were
Plant a really
included in
big
the design.
nasty bush there, and that'd probably.
And that certainly is an option. If the alternate number 1 which is the stairs, is not selected this evening by the council, we would pursue working with the folks at the mall and the university who own this ground to the north in doing just that, some kind of plantings or something to hopefully discourage people using that slope in the manner they have been today. There's been discussion about, well, could the walk to the east back to the ramp just be taken out? We haven't broached that subject with anybody. Certainly that would add cost to the project and something we would have to, discuss with the mall operation folks.
That's where they'll put the snow.
Potentially, it could be where they put the snow. That's very true. So it's one of those things that people will tend to take the straightest route if it is comfortable for them to do so. There are a lot of people today who will just walk down that slope, and I presume that they will continue to do so, even though there's an alternative that's paved and readily
Well, I walk it
available.
all the time, and I won't, because it's muddy.
Thinking primarily of students that tend to go on a straight line anywhere they want to be going.